Radhe Radhe. So yeah, I think the Radhe Radhe is working. I'm a little bit self-conscious, as you might be able to tell, but I like it, so I'm gonna go with it. Um, so what I like to do. So today we're going to do Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, verse 5. And I'll tell you a little bit of my process. So I like to, after I shoot this video and I upload it for today, I like to go over the next verse. I will do that before I head to bed tonight. And so that the whole night through, so I read this thing, like it's very difficult for me to, it's when I'm reading it out to you, it might seem like it's easy, but that's because I've read it out 20 times the night before, and I've practiced reading it out multiple times because it's difficult. It doesn't flow off the tongue instantly for me. I have to practice it many times before it does. And when I read the meanings of each word, then it helps me understand it better, it helps me read it better, it helps me sing it better. So it's easier for me to do that. So I like to have that overnight, just stay live, that verse lives in my body overnight. So I like that option. Plus what I've been doing lately is I've been trying to okay, so you remember that game when we used to be kids? We would sit around in a circle, and one kid would say a word, and then the second kid would add a word to it. So say the first word and then add a word to it. Third kid would say the first word, the second word, and add a word, and the fourth kid would say the first word, second word, third word, add to it. And we'd keep going around, and the first person who missed a word would be out, and we would just, like, it would get much harder and harder and harder, right? So I'm doing that with these verses. So far I've memorized the first 5 verses, including today's, and it's just getting harder and harder, and it's not easy still. None of them, even the first one, is not easy. I mean, it's easier than the 5th verse, but I still have to think. It's not like just flowing off, and it's just not committed to subconscious memory. I still have to think about it and bring it out, but I'm trying to remember. So I don't know how long I'm going to be able to remember that. At some point I'm going to be out. And I'm not expecting that I'll remember all 700, but I'm excited, and it's fun for me to just go through this and remember as many as I can. I mean, even this process of, even if I only remember 5, I'm like, I remember 5 verses from the Gita, the first 5 verses of the, like, that's pretty amazing to me. I've never been that kind of person who would, like, remember that kind of stuff. So it's really good. Okay, so there's another rabbit hole that I went down yesterday. Apart from trying to remember 5 verses. So when I was reading these verses, and when I've been reading them out here on the videos, I've realized that I'm not reading. Sanskrit is a very, like, it's not just a very scientific language, but it's also a very poetic and artistic language. So when we are reading, then, so it has these 2 lines, and each line is broken into 2 sections. So it's basically got 4 sections, and I was just reading them all over. Like, I wasn't even figuring out which line ends where, let alone which section ends where, and I was just kind of little messy. So I just got this feeling like I want to figure out how to read this properly, and it's a song, right? Bhagavad Gita. So I was like, I wanted to try to figure out how to sing it, like how to, and I was like, this probably chants somewhere. So I looked it up on YouTube, like Bhagavad Gita chants, and there were so many that came out, and I loved them. There's so many beautiful ones. And okay, so one thing that I love, there are a few things that I love. One of them is that I love a male voice. I love both. It's not that I don't, but just the male voice feels a little bit deeper and nicer. And also Sanskrit can be, there are a lot of words which are like half letters combined with a full letter, and in most places the half letter is on top and the full letter is underneath the half letter when it's written down. That's harder for me to read, and another way to do it is you can put the half letter and you can put the full letter next to it, and the half letter just kind of touches the full letter, but it's separate. It's much easier for me to read. And plus I cannot read the English, like I read Hindi, so I can read the Sanskrit script, but I cannot read the English version as easily. It doesn't flow as easily to me, even though they have the dots and the bars and everything over and under and all of that. It's possible, it's just not as convenient for me. So I was looking for something, a chant that had the Hindi script, and I found this chant that had the Hindi script with the letters separated, the half and the full letters separated, which was amazing. And I can post the links of those two. So that one is by Ishan Pai and Kuldeep Pai, the one with the Sanskrit script with the half letters and full letters separated. But and even though I love their voice so much, their voice, the music, the tone of it is kind of like it brings anxiety in me somehow instead of soothing. Like it's like very intense. It's not simple. So there is this other one that I found with a perfect tune, which is sung by a woman. The channel's name is Vedic Vigyan. I can post the links for both. I feel like I'm posting a ton of links, and I hope I'm not overwhelming you guys, but I'll post these two links as well. So I'm going to be singing now. So I figured out how to sing all the first 5 verses in the proper way. So I'm going to be singing using her voice, her tune, not her voice, my voice, her tune, and I've been reading from the other Kuldeep Pai and Ishan Pai's videos so that I can get the Sanskrit script from there. Okay, so now to get to verse 5. I think I've taken up a lot of your time. Okay. Just to remind, the previous verse was Duryodhan talking to Dronacharya and saying, okay, I'm going to sing it and that thing. Atrushura Maheshvasa Bhimarjana Samayudhi Yuyudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharatha. So Atrushura, here are heroes, Maheshwasa, mighty archers, who are equal in fighting prowess to Bhim and Arjun. And people like Virat, people like Yuyudhan, people like Drupad, Maharathis like them. Maharathis is each warrior being equivalent to 10,000 warriors. So he's basically telling Dronacharya the opposing army is really good. And he also said in that time, I thought that he was saying, I should stop jumping to conclusions before I read the next thing. I jumped to a conclusion, or I guessed, or whatever, that he said Drupad at the end because he wanted to end with him, and he's like, you need to remember that. But in the next verse, he's now saying, so the next verse now he's listing 6 more people, and he's saying these opposing armies have 6 more heroes. So this next verse, today's 5th verse is Drishtuketushchekitanah Kashirajascha Viryavan. Okay. Purujit Kunti Bhojascha Shabyascha Narapungavaha. So now each line has 3. Drishtiketu, Chekitana, and Kashiraj. The first line has all these 3. These 3 also Viryavan. Viryavan is heroes. Shurveer is like heroes, Veer is strength. So Viryavan is like very strong, powerful people. And then the second line is Purujit, Kunti Bhoj, and Shabya. These are also, he mentions 3, and then he says Nara Pungavaha. Nara is mankind, and Pungavaha is also like leaders or heroes or strong people. So he's saying that these are heroes like these and heroes like these. So yeah, this verse is very simple to understand. There isn't that much underneath. He's just giving names, and he's saying heroes like these 3 and heroes like these 3, like he's just giving more examples. So why he's saying this to Dronacharya is trying to tell him, or trying to, and him and maybe other people who are listening around, I'm not sure, he's trying to say, hey, the opposing army is not weak. They have very strong military formations by Drishtadimna, who's Drupad's son. They have all these, he's listed 9 people so far that are other than Bhim and Arjun, that he's saying that are as strong as Bhim and Arjun. He's listed 9 or 8, 6 in this one. Let's see, Yuyudhan, Virat, and Drupad. 9 in the 3 in the previous one. So he's listed so far 9 people who are really strong in the other guys, and he's like, let us bring our absolute very best forward in this. Let us not take them for granted. Let's not get complacent. Those guys are very strong. Those guys are very powerful, and let's let's focus, let's let's do well. So I think that's what the verse is. And yeah, I think that I don't think there is anything else in this to talk about or that I can know of. So let's talk next time. Radhe Radhe.